My coaching experience. For my coaching experience, I decided to coach a second-year kindergarten teacher on my team. We both teach at an elementary school in Chapel Hill. So a little background information on my school. It's mostly Caucasian students. It is made up of mostly students from affluent backgrounds, and students of color, as well as students with financial need, are typically the minority at my school. Yay, kindergarten. So the problem she identified was that she had many more students in her classroom this year that didn't have those early literacy and book handling skills than her first year. And she was not sure how to catch those students up. So at my school, because the students do come from more affluent backgrounds, they typically already come in with those early book handling skills, and a lot of them already come in reading at first or second grade level. So some of those skills that her students needed support with were identifying the title of a book, being able to point to words in their books with one-to-one correspondence while they read, and being able to use the picture for support to figure out words. So we discussed some reasons this could be the case while she was seeing more students with less of those early literacy skills, and we also discussed some next steps to help fix the problem. So we discovered that a lot of her students had not been to preschool this year, and then a lot of them just didn't have that exposure to books. So we talked about how those students would need to see those early literacy skills modeled for them, but they will also need time to practice those skills themselves. So we decided that doing shared reading with those students would be the best solution. So this was the process. She had never done shared reading before, so I modeled what this would look like with the group of students she had already identified. Then she did shared reading of her own, and I observed her and gave her feedback. She then continued the work on her own with those students, and I checked in with her from time to time. And in our last check-in, she reported that she saw those students picking up those skills she wanted, and when they were reading books on their own during independent reading time, she saw them transferring those skills at that time on their own as well. So this is an image of the notes we created to help her with the shared reading process. So during shared reading, basically she would have a big book and the kids would have a little book. And both texts in the big book and the little book are the same. And she would read the big book to kids, and they would kind of help her read the book. And by helping her, I mean having them work on those skills, such as pointing to the title in the big book, counting words, pointing to all the words. She would incorporate turn and talks, like what they think they would see in the book or things they would already know about the topic of the book. Having the kids look at the first letter of the word and use a picture for support. And then they would go and read their little text on their own after having worked on the same big text with her. And they would apply the skills they used in the big text, point out sight words we had taught, and she would also incorporate some higher order thinking skills as well, like asking them how they feel about the characters or having them make connections to themselves. And then also another strategy for students who may still be having trouble with pointing to each word, she could point above the word while they pointed below. So that's kind of how the whole shared reading process worked. So what I learned, having this coaching experience was very informative and actually really fun. Leading someone else was a great way to encourage myself to stop and think about the practices that I was doing in my own classroom and then the reasons behind them. And stopping and doing this thinking allowed me to implement these practices in my own classroom even better because I kind of had to break them down to explain them to someone else. And then when I thought more about why I do each thing, it allowed me to just implement it even better than I had been. Something else I learned just about helping students with literacy in general is that students who have difficulties in literacy often just have not had exposure, had the experience doing the literacy tasks we ask them. And sometimes just going back and modeling and teaching those concepts could be a solution. It just could be the key for those students.